Episode 7, The Kingdom of Champa, an epic of the Sea Kings. The history of Southeast Asia was not only written by the great agricultural empires. Interspersed between the fertile plains were long coastlines, where another people, skilled seafarers and traders, built a unique and resilient civilization. This is the story of a kingdom defined not by its rice fields, but by the silver-crested waves. A kingdom of towering red brick temples, of god-kings who carried the spirit of the ocean in their blood, and of a relentless, thousand-year confrontation with their powerful neighbors. This is the story of the Kingdom of Champa. Welcome back to the History of Southeast Asia series. In Episode 7, we will explore the tragic epic of a civilization that has vanished, but whose legacy echoes for eternity. Part 1. Children of the Sea, the Origins, Faith, and Sanctuary of My Son. On the coastal plains of modern-day central Vietnam, nestled between the mighty Truong Son mountain range and the vast East Sea, a people of the Austronesian language family settled in ancient times. They are the ancestors of the Cham people, more closely related to the Malays and Indonesians than to the Vietnamese to their north. Their very nature was tied to the sea. They were brilliant mariners, masters of the ocean currents and monsoon winds, turning their ships into instruments of both trade and war. At the end of the 2nd century, as the Han dynasty in China was weakening, a local rebellion erupted. In the year 192 AD, an official named Ku Lin led the people to independence and established a new state. Chinese historical records called this nascent kingdom Lini. This was the earliest form of the later Kingdom of Champa. From its very beginning, Champa's identity was shaped by two elements, India and the sea. They quickly and profoundly adopted Indian civilization. Hinduism, especially the Shaivite sect that worships the god Shiva, became the primary religion. The Cham kings saw themselves as incarnations of Shiva, and their symbol of power was the linga, housed within imposing temple towers. The Cham developed a unique architectural style, not using sandstone like the Khmer, but employing fired red bricks to build exquisite temple towers, Kalan. Nowhere is the splendor of Cham faith and art more evident than at the My Son Sanctuary. Hidden in a valley surrounded by mountains, My Son was the most sacred religious and political heart of the kingdom for centuries. Beginning in the 4th century, Cham kings built dozens of temples here to worship their gods. The supreme deity worshipped here was Bhadrasvara, a composite of the name of the founding king, Bhadravarman, and the goddess Vara, Shiva, symbolizing the fusion of royal and divine power. The brilliant red towers, intricately carved with images of dancers, deities, and mythical creatures, are a testament to a glorious civilization. Champa's early history was a long series of conflicts for survival and growth. They constantly confronted the Chinese commanderies to the north, while also competing and clashing with kingdoms to the south, like Funan and later Chenla. It was in this harsh environment that the indomitable spirit and unique culture of the Cham people were forged. Part 2. A kingdom of shifting centers, power, Buddhism, and the art of Dong Duong. Champa's history is unlike that of other centralized empires. The kingdom's power was not fixed in a single capital, but often shifted between different mandalas or principalities along the coast, each ruled by its own dynasty. The 4 main territories were Indrapura, Amaravati, in modern Quang Nam, Vijaya, in Ben Din, Kauthara, in Nha Trang, and Panduranga, in Phan Rang. At the end of the 9th century, a new dynasty rose in the Indrapura region, ushering in a brief but brilliant period. Under the reign of King Indravarman II, who ascended the throne in 875, a significant religious change occurred. Mahayana Buddhism suddenly flourished and became the state religion for a time. This king commissioned a magnificent Buddhist monastery at Dong Duong in Quang Nam. This was not just a religious center, but the birthplace of a unique art style. The sculptures found at Dong Duong possess a completely different aesthetic. The statues of the Dvarapalas, guardian deities, and bodhisattvas have fierce faces, bulging muscles, and an intense, almost wild vitality. The Dong Duong art style represents a creative and powerful interpretation of Buddhism, demonstrating the capacity for renewal and diversity in the spiritual life of the Cham. Although this Buddhist period did not last long and the worship of Shiva later returned, it left behind a priceless artistic legacy. Part 3. The rivalry with Angkor, glory and bitterness. Champa's most complex relationship during this era was with the mighty Khmer Empire to the west. The two empires traded, exchanged cultural ideas, but were also implacable rivals. This confrontation reached its climax in the second half of the 12th century. Taking advantage of the Khmer Empire's weakness after the death of King Srivijaya II, the Cham king Vijaya Indravarman IV launched a daring and unimaginable attack. In the year 1177, he commanded a fleet that, instead of attacking by land as was customary, sailed up the Mekong River, entered the Great Lake of Tunnel Sap, and launched a surprise assault directly on the capital of Angkor. The great capital of the Khmer was brutally sacked. This was a glorious military achievement, the pinnacle of Cham naval power, but it was also an act that would provoke a terrible revenge. A Khmer prince, who would later become King Jayavarman VII, rose up to rally his forces. After driving out the Cham and reclaiming his capital, he launched an all-out conquest of Champa. By 1190, the Khmer army had completely conquered Champa, capturing the Cham king. For more than 2 decades, Champa was reduced to a province of the Angkorian Empire. Although the Cham later regained their independence in 1220, the wars with Angkor had left them exhausted, and now they had to face an even greater, more permanent threat from the north. Part 4. The Thousand-Year War, Đại Việt and the hero King Chế Bồng Nga. The confrontation between the Vietnamese of Đại Việt and the Cham of Champa is one of the longest and most tragic in Southeast Asian history. It was a clash between an agricultural empire, always tending to expand southwards in search of land, and a maritime kingdom, always trying to defend itself and sometimes launching fierce counterattacks. The Vietnamese southward march, Nam Tien, had begun very early. In 1306, a major diplomatic event occurred when the Vietnamese king Tran Anh Tong gave his sister, Princess Huyen Tran, in marriage to the Cham king Jaya, Srivijaya III, Chaman, in exchange for 2 prefectures. This marriage helped Đại Việt peacefully expand its territory further south, but it could not prevent future conflicts. In the latter half of the 14th century, Champa suddenly rose to great power under the leadership of one of its greatest warrior kings, Chế Bồng Nga, who reigned from 1360 to 1390. Known as the Red King, Chế Bồng Nga was a military genius. He took advantage of the weakness of the Tran dynasty, which had been exhausted by its wars with the Mongols, to launch continuous attacks on Đại Việt by both land and sea. He achieved the unthinkable. In the years 1371, 1377, and 1383, Chế Bồng Nga's armies sacked the Vietnamese capital of Thăng Long 3 times. The entire Đại Việt court had to flee the capital. The Vietnamese king Tran Du Tong was even killed during his own counterattack into Champa in 1377. Đại Việt was pushed to the brink of collapse. For nearly 20 years, Chế Bồng Nga was the terror of the Vietnamese. Only after he was killed in a naval battle in 1390 did this threat end. The horrifying memory of his invasions was deeply etched into the minds of the Vietnamese, and a final, decisive confrontation was inevitable. Part 5. The Twilight of the Cham Towers, the Fall of Vijaya, and the Enduring Legacy. In the latter half of the 15th century, Đại Việt, under the rule of its greatest king, Lê Thánh Tông, reigned 1460 to 1497, reached the zenith of its power. With a highly organized Confucian state and a powerful, battle-hardened army, Lê Thánh Tông decided to resolve the threat from Champa once and for all. After several border conflicts, in the year 1471, Lê Thánh Tông personally commanded a massive army, said to number 250,000 men, and marched south. The Đại Việt army, with its absolute advantage in numbers and organization, quickly overwhelmed the Cham forces. The decisive battle took place at the capital city of Vijaya, in modern-day Ben Din. After a fierce siege and battle, the capital fell. A tragedy ensued. According to Vietnamese chronicles, over 40,000 Cham soldiers were killed, and more than 30,000 people, including the king and the royal family, were taken prisoner. The capital of Vijaya was completely destroyed. The event of 1471 was a fatal blow, ending the existence of the Kingdom of Champa as an independent power. The entire northern part of Champa, including its capital, was annexed into Đại Việt. Although a smaller Cham kingdom, called Panduranga, survived in the southern region from Phan Rang onwards, as a vassal state of Đại Việt for several more centuries, the once brilliant Cham civilization had truly faded. The Vietnamese southward march continued unabated, and gradually, the Cham became a minority in their own homeland. The final remnant of the Cham kingdom was fully absorbed into Vietnam in 1832 under Emperor Minh Mang. The story of the Kingdom of Champa is a tragic epic of a people's resilience. For over 16 centuries, they built a unique maritime civilization, created immortal masterpieces of architecture and art, and fought bravely to defend their independence against powerful neighbors. The fall of Champa marked a decisive step in the Vietnamese southward march, shaping the S-like form of Vietnam today. The legacy of the Cham, from their moss-covered towers to their distinctive culture, still exists as a reminder of a lost civilization, an indispensable part of the colorful tapestry of Southeast Asian history. History has so many more stories to tell. To make sure you don't miss a single one, take action now. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell. Join us as we uncover the hidden corners of the past. See you next time.